All right, so Kevin and I want to welcome you to the fabulous Secretary and Treasurer training of 2020, 2021. I had to think about the years. So thank you for coming and joining our elite group. The first question I think I had was, how many of you, and I'm not going to be able to see my chat thing, I don't think, but how many of you have been a secretary, club secretary or treasurer before? Because I'm very interested to see how many are new ones. So I can see Bob's hand. I can't.
I have.
Okay, Ellen. Okay.
Susan.
Okay. Anyone else?
Susan.
Susan. Awesome.
Stella.
Oh, Stella.
I have not. I'm brunette.
Okay, so Runette is new.
Yeah.
All right.
And Kathy got in here. She's a new secretary out in West Georgia.
All right. And now I can see where my controls are up at the top now instead of the bottom. All right. So, all right. Awesome. So Bob, Ellen, Susan, and there was one more person. Didn't they say they've been secretary or treasurer before from a club perspective? Okay. All right. So one of the things I think Charlie had planned, if we weren't running short on time today, was what are the duties of the club secretary? So of course, the main duties, or I consider one of the main duties of a club secretary, is to keep and maintain the minutes of all your meetings. That includes your board of director meetings and your business meetings, so your club meetings. You do need to maintain all the records of membership, attendance, and service to the club. And that helps in regards to the ANA report that Kathy was talking about, and also some of the other forms that we have within the district and as well as in OI. So what I'm going to do after this meeting, or by the end of this weekend, I'm going to send you guys a zip file that has the training documentation and files and forms that we received from OI. And I'll send those to you in an email, and then you'll have that same forms, and Kevin and I are available to talk to you at any point throughout the year regarding those forms. But we're going to do at a very high level the discussion on the forms. You also, as the third bullet says, you have to prepare and file all the reports required by Optimus International in the district. So like you saw earlier today, the COER report, and that's usually due on May 20th of each year. So that is one of the reports you'll be responsible to make sure is done. And then of course, attending the district conferences and zone meetings. Any questions about your duties? And you guys can come off, mute if you want to. It doesn't matter to me with the background noise. The other thing folks say from Optimus International is one of the things you're responsible doing is standing up your club president, making that person look good and everything like that. So hopefully you and your club president and your club treasurer are a fine-tuned oil machine working together this next year. As I mentioned, you guys will be working with your president and your treasurer if you have a treasurer at your club level as well. Some of our clubs have both the same person for a secretary as well as a treasurer. So what do you think what are some good characteristics of a club secretary or treasurer? And you guys can just yell them out.
Good penmanship.
Oh, good penmanship.
That's a good one.
Okay.
Ethan?
Honesty.
Honesty's great.
Honesty. Wow. Okay.
Attention to details.
Attention to, that's awesome.
Know what's going on with your members, if they have health issues, if there's a death in the family, the personal things that you know, that you should be, there to help your members.
Yeah, that's what makes a club, and being able to communicate to your president about what's going on with your members. You're right.
All All right. Anybody else have any good characteristics of a secretary, club secretary or treasurer?
I would tell y'all, I think organized is probably one of the biggest things.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right. All right. So I wanted to, so in this slide deck that we'll send out as part of the zip file that you'll receive is Kevin and my contact information. So we've listed both our email address and our cell phone numbers, as well as the clubs we're associated with. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us either through email and cell phone. All right. So the role of the club secretary in the board meeting. So of course, you're definitely a member of your board of directors. You are responsible for keeping the minutes of the board meetings. You are responsible for distributing the minutes to the members of the board in a timely manner. So what do you think is a timely manner?
No more than a week, I would say.
Yeah, I would say a week.
I
Okay.
say a week too.
Oh,
1 week.
I like that. Okay, so you guys all raise your right hand and say, I will distribute the board meeting minutes a week after they're held.
Good luck.
I'm only treasurer.
Well, fortunately with email, once you print them up, it's so easy to distribute them because you'll have the email addresses of the board members. So
Right.
you just click a button and everybody's got them.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and Alex, and that we'll get down to it because I hope to, before I move the presentation over to Kevin, is go into Optimus.org, and you saw Albert do that. One of the very important things that I think is a secretary's responsibility is making sure the club roster is accurately in for your club. For the club that I'm a member of, Tucker, we definitely have issues with that. And I think with where we are with virtual meetings and everything and not seeing people, and some clubs haven't even probably handed out minutes in years and they do it electronically. The email address, as Albert was saying earlier, is vital to make sure it's correct. One, to receive your local club minutes, but also to receive what's coming from the district and OI that we'll be sending out. Now, one of the other things for the club secretary in the board meeting is to read the names of prospective club members for vote once the screening's been complete. And then of course you ask your board for approval of club members to be dropped. So I have a question for you guys. How many of your clubs actually vote on your club members joining? Do you guys know?
How many?
David does, okay. Alex was shaking his
No.
head no.
We are we're a brand new club. We just started in September of 2019. And then we weren't around for 6 months until the COVID came along. So it's been very difficult, but we did not vote on each other. We were glad to have each other. And that was
Getting
it.
8
He
points will be
volunteered.
different next year.
Yeah.
He volunteered.
Yeah, I really think one of the most organized things you can do as a secretary is be on top of that club roster and make sure that you do vote on new members and also vote to remove members. Because you want to protect your club and make sure, you know, if you got a new member in, somebody knows who they are or a club member has sponsored them. That's one of the best things you can do to protect your club. As you're growing in a new club, like you said, it gets a little more unique. But that's one thing, our club secretary's job is to do what the board says in adding new members or deleting members. So no one is added or deleted without board approval. I would strongly recommend that.
I agree.
All right, so so you have definitely some easier tasks in a club meeting. You should be aware of the agenda. Hopefully your club president is sending the agenda at least to you and to your club treasurer maybe a few days before the club meeting, just in case you need, as a secretary or as a treasurer, any agenda items to be added. You also are responsible for keeping the minutes of the club meeting. And Also, making sure you've written down who's attending the club meetings as well, because that's really important. Because as Ellen said, you know, attention to members on a personal level. So if you actually see a member who hasn't been to one of your meetings in a couple months, depending on how often you meet, you definitely want to, you know, look back at your minutes and reach out to that person and just make sure that everything's going well, and there's nothing that is in jeopardy there. So one of the roles that you play with new members is you will receive all the membership forms and applications. So this is back to what Kevin was saying about making sure that you're screening and you're recording those new members at the board meeting and asking the board to vote on that individual. After approval and you complete your records, and you want to send that information over to Optimus International. And you can do that by two ways, either going online and filling it out on optimusleaders.org or filling out a sheet or form that says it's club roster adjustment. So there's two ways you can send that information to Optimus International, optimusleaders.org through the website, and then on a paper form, the club roster adjustment. So let me ask the question before we move on. How many of you guys have received an email from Optimus International with your user ID and password into optimus.org as a secretary or treasurer? Okay, I see one,
Already had one.
two.
Alex has
No.
not.
No, haven't
Alex
gotten
has-
anything.
All right, so I'm
And
gonna write that,
Kathy also has not.
Kathy.
Fontenot.
Okay, let me write
Hopefully
that
that's how
down.
you say that.
So we'll just,
And
I can
Stella
send
has
in-
not.
who hasn't?
Stella.
Stella also has
Estelle,
not.
okay. Okay, let me go back up and let me make sure I grab your names correctly.
Christie, if the officer elect report has not been sent in, then they
Correct.
wouldn't have it either. Haven't sent
Correct.
it yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good point. So Alex, Kathy, and Estella, what you want to do is reach out to your current club president, because as Albert mentioned earlier, that COER report, the club officer elect report, is vital for the next year. So your club president right now, or your treasurer secretary, they do have until September 1st to fill that form out. And with what's been going on with the pandemic, we know our clubs have either stopped meeting or they're not meeting as often. So it is imperative that your clubs do fill out that form by September 1st. Because unfortunately after that, you might not get access to what you need in optimus.org, but also we don't have an accurate information at the current level of who Kevin needs to reach out to at a treasurer level, who I need to reach out to, or even Albert at a governor reaching out to either club presidents. So it's really important that if you can reach out to your current club president after this weekend and say, hey, I was in the district training and I need to be able to access optimus.org. And one of the reasons I might not have received an email is because you have not filled out the COER report. But I have collected your names, so I'll send that over to Albert and folks and just make sure that you guys somehow can get access.
Okay, actually, in fairness to our club, I don't believe the slate of officers has been elected yet.
Right.
I was nominated for secretary. I think I've got a pretty good shot at it because there was no one else nominated. And
Alex, you'll find out by default.
yeah, I don't think our election is going to be until just prior to the end of September, or maybe
Wow.
maybe by the end of this month. So I don't believe the election has taken place that would have officially crowned me as secretary and therefore sent me information about it. So I don't believe that was a shortcoming of our president. I think it's just the timing.
Okay.
Yeah, you
All
might
right.
just want to make sure with that club officer elect report being due September 1st, you might want to just let your president know, hey, if we, we might need to push up this election. And you also need to check your bylaws as well, because sometimes you have to give a week advance notice or 2 weeks advance notice before that election anyway. So
And
that
what's
might be
the-
something you need to get off the ground.
What's the name of the report?
Club officer elect report,
Okay.
CO.
Kevin,
And the leaders.
Say what?
You have to
Kevin,
go to the leaders in Optimist International,
Yes, yes.
not just the,
Right.
All right, I think that was Susan, and then Kathy.
I just wanted to say the updated bylaws are due the 15th of August.
Yep.
Oh, today.
Yep.
Okay. And one of the things that you should be thinking of as a secretary is providing those new members a new member package. A couple years ago in our Tucker Optimist Club, Mary and Albert did a nice 3-ring binder for all of our new members. It had the bylaws on it. It had the current club roster and other pieces of information about Optimist International and things that we've done at a club level. So you'll want to make sure that your club has some kind of new member package to give to your new members when they join.
Right. And one does come from OI. When a new member goes in, Optimist International sends you a packet as well as information. But if you have any club specific stuff you want to add to that, make sure it's available.
Okay, so at this point, I'm hoping if everything goes right, I can go into optimist.org. So this is what Albert shared with us earlier today. So if I come over here to optimistleaders. The login and type in my password.
Each one of us log in?
I'll just show it, Ellen, and then,
Okay, all right.
but Ellen, you're probably you're a pro at this, so if you feel like you want to log in. All right, let me move this a little bit so I can get rid of this so it's not saved. Okay, and let me move you. I'm going to totally move you. Okay, so this is where Albert was logging in, and you can see from this information, I have access from a club level because right now I am Tucker Optimist's club secretary-elect, I think, and then also as a district level. So I want to always make sure I'm at the right level, pull in my report. So I wanted to show you some of the things that Albert was showing you guys when we were all together, because one of the things I think Janice was saying that about the COE report. So all this information you guys can see at your level of your club level. And you can see right now, here's our current officers within the Tucker Optimist Club, and that ends on September 30th. And then of course, we have filled out our club officer elect report, and Kathy, who's on this call, is our president. Somehow I'm going to end up playing some dual role, I guess, as secretary and treasurer. And then Mary is our foundation rep. And you can see that when you come down to the club rosters active, the folks that are in those roles or pending roles are highlighted in bold. Okay. And then, as Albert mentioned, this club roster report is imperative that you guys start looking at it come October 1st or even before, to make sure that when you start and you send out that first email as club secretary, you've got all the right email addresses. Because as a person who's been at the district level for the last couple of years, as a A&A chair, leadership foundation chair, it's very frustrating when you send out emails and you start getting those kickbacks and you're like, wait a minute, that's what's in the directory. Who am I going to reach out to make sure I have Ellen Straight's correct email address? So it's really important those rosters are filled out and have updated information. So what I wanted to scroll back up to do is click on the reports. And these are the reports that you guys have access to. And the one thing I wanted to do, so this Club Pride report, you guys heard Kathy Robinson talking about the Club Pride report. So the nice thing about it is you have until September 30th to send that in to make sure that you are given enough time in case you've earned an award at a club level. All right, and then also your club bylaws should be uploaded as well. And then here's your club officer elect report. So if I go to report status, I can see that our club did fill this out. So as a club secretary, you should have this view to it. Somebody was asking if I could see it at a higher level. And as a district secretary, I could go into report totals and I actually see everybody who's submitted their COE report. So we do have several clubs that have not submitted their COE report. So those are a couple reports that you have access to. So let me just go back here. And then if you're interested, I believe you should have access to a T-Shot report, and you can pull that at a club level as you and your president and treasurer talking about, membership. The one thing I do want to mention is the club roster adjustment report. So you can pull this multiple different ways, but the one thing that you can't do as a club roster on your club roster adjustment online here is delete a member. So if you have to delete a member, that information has to be emailed or sent over to Optimus International. But if you wanted to add a member, you could do that based on optimus.org or filling out that report. And I have a copy of that report on my slide, and as well as in this zip file that we'll send to you. So do you guys have questions about the website on what you might be able to see?
Kathy, you can delete a member online. You cannot delete a club officer online.
Right.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you. You are correct. I missed that one. You are correct, Bob. So I'm so glad you're here as an experienced secretary. So you can't delete a club officer. All right. Anybody have questions, or anybody who has been a club secretary have any words of wisdom on this lovely website?
Good luck.
Oh, really? Who said that? I can't even see who said that.
It was me.
Okay, Kevin. Okay. All right.
I was just being silly.
So one of the things Kevin and I will be doing over the next, definitely the next 30 days into the year, I think Albert or maybe Charlie mentioned it. No, it was Deanna. Sorry, I'm trying to think back who all spoke this morning. But we will be offering different Zoom sessions throughout the next upcoming months to offer you guys specific training around secretary or treasurer training, but also maybe have time where we blocked off like the first Tuesday of each month where you guys can come into a Zoom meeting and ask questions, where you would have Kevin, myself, Charlie, Albert, Mary, whoever that group becomes, to be able to answer your questions as you guys get accustomed to your roles. All right, let me see if I can go back to my PowerPoint. All right. So as I mentioned, your club roster adjustment, you do have a paper form, and that's what this paper form is all about. And I did have a question. I have to update it because of what Bob just clarified for me. So as a club secretary or treasurer, can you delete a club officer?
No.
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 Awesome. Thank you. All right. And then this is a paper copy of the club officer elect report. And it is usually due May 20th of every year. I don't know why they chose May 20th, but they have. So you would just have your, you would just go ahead and fill this out if you wanted to mail it in, or you could fill it out online. And this is some screenshots on how you would do that. I've also put in some, so these are back to your reporting things. So providing a new member package, sending the board minutes out, and as Kathy Robinson said earlier, you and your president and your members will work to fill out the ANA report that is due the 15th of the following month as the quarter ends. Okay. And some of the resources that we have available to you in our zip file that I'm going to be sending out to you. So if let me make sure I go to the right thing. Nope. Hang on. So in a zip file that I sent to some folks that I knew were attending, and I apologize, I didn't have the complete list. You guys will get a zip file of all these documents right here. And the ICD 135 is discussing the new requirements to be Honor Club and Distinguished Club. One of those changes, as Kathy mentioned, was the donation to Optimus International Foundation. You'll also receive in here is a checklist. So the nice thing about this is it helps you from a month-to-month perspective of what should be happening. So if we were all lucky to been in Chicago last month and not in our homes, this would have been one of the things we could have checked off our list by attending the international conference or convention, I'm sorry. So those are some helpful documents that we'll be sending out to you guys. And some of these Kevin will be covering in just a few minutes.
I have those already. Y'all sent them to me the other day.
Yes, because I had you on the list of attending. Some folks I did not, like
Okay. I got
Bob and Susan and folks.
Okay.
So they have not received that.
Yeah, I got that. I looked at it the other day.
Good.
Yeah. So some helpful hints, make sure you keep a calendar of events and due dates. If you guys have agendas that you want to share with the team, or even the way you guys have taken minutes, Bob and Ellen and Susan, I don't know if you, with your experience as club secretary before, if you have a document that you find very helpful on the way you take minutes, please share it with the group. I am tackling this task for myself the first time in October, so I'm going to try to figure out what's the best format for me to take minutes in our meetings as well. And as Ellen said, you know, if your club, it's interesting because it says if your club doesn't have a welfare committee, which is the folks that send birthday cards or goodwill cards, make sure that as a secretary, you sort of take on that responsibility. So make sure at least your birthday list or is up to date, so you can be on that, sending out a birthday card to one of your members on behalf of the club when it comes up, because especially in these times, having a card come in the mail and just wishing a person a happy birthday is probably meaning a lot nowadays. And this is the folks to reach out to if you have questions, okay? And here's a club tracking form that's in your packet, the club planning form, and your club pride report. This is what's due at the end of each year, and an annual club review. And I am going to ask you one thing that, tell me one thing you should be doing in October.
Something should be
Oh,
doing.
come on. One thing you should be doing in October.
Having a board meeting.
Having a board meeting.
How about pulling down the club roster?
Yep.
Okay. All right, Kevin, I'm sorry I took so long.
Oh, it's all good. Oh, it's all good. Thank you, Chrissy. So we have 15 minutes to go through the rest of this. So I'm going to try to get you out. Let me ask a quick question before we get started. How many people here serve in both the secretary and treasurer role for your club? Raise your hand. Okay. How many people that are here are just the treasurer for the upcoming year? Serving as treasurer. Mr. Bob, David, Susan, Dennis. Okay. So, so this is sort of unique. I would hate to have both roles. I can imagine. I personally think that club secretary is the hardest job in Optimist International. I really do, just because there's so much to do. But the first thing we want to do is just say thank you. We're volunteers here, and you're taking time today. You're taking time each and every day to help your club and to bring out the best in your kids. So the first thing we just want to say is thank you for agreeing to be your club secretary or treasurer, whatever role. As a treasurer, you are the accountant for the club. So you're responsible for making sure that you safeguard the assets of the club and that you're as transparent as possible and that you do a great job accounting for everything. Okay, flip to the next slide. Just a little about me for anybody who may not know me. I'm Kevin Bush. I'm the current president of the Optimist Club of Carrollton. My email and cell phone is there for you. You can reach me anytime. I'm a CPA. Y'all may actually not know that about me. I'm a CPA. I'm the Assistant Finance Director for the City of Carrollton, here in Carrollton, Georgia. So numbers and money is what I do. So I do know a little bit about this, believe it or not. So let's dig in and first talk about the duties of a club treasurer. So what does a club treasurer have to do? Right now, the first things you need to be doing when you're getting started is getting ready for your year. So you need to set up or update the club's checking account. You may need to go change the signatory card. As a new treasurer, you may have to come in and make sure that your signature is on there. Also, you may want to specify another officer or board member to serve as backup. One of my big things is internal controls. So you want to make sure that there's someone else in your place as a backup. If you're not available but a check is needed, that there's someone who can sign for it, and that'll be a board decision. In our club, we have the past president and the treasurer signing our checks. So just whatever your club decides to do there, but make sure you're going to need to do that in your first meeting and get board approval of that. Make sure you document it in your minutes, because many banks are going to need minutes approved from your board to be able to change the signatory cards. So just keep that in mind, that you may want to get that meeting going here in August, September, so that you can be ready October 1st for any changes. So keep that in mind right now. Another thing that you might be doing is assisting the finance committee in preparing the budget. This is also something that you'll want to work close with your president. Your budget should reflect your plans for the year. So, you know, if your president has an idea that he wants to do some kind of big now program, and you know that that might cost a couple $1,000s, make sure you have that in your budget. One big thing to make sure you have in your budget for this year is a $100 contribution to the OI Foundation. To reach Honor Club status for next year, you have to have $100 unrestricted contribution from your club. Okay, do you want to be an honor club? The answer is yes. So make sure you budget and plan that way. So these are sort of things you just got to keep in mind. And the other thing that Christy just said, the first thing you need to do is obtain a copy of your club roster. You're going to need to know how many members you have, what your dues rates are. That way you can properly calculate where your expected revenues are going to be from dues for the year. Okay, you flip to the next slide. Your other responsibilities include collecting fees and dues and paying the bills. So on the receipt side, one of the biggest things that you're going to be doing is preparing and sending quarterly due statements to your members, and making sure that as soon as you get those funds, they're deposited, credited to their accounts, and record those funds as received. Also, you're going to have to be a little bit of a bill collector at times too. That's one of those things we hate to do, but if you have someone who's delinquent in paying their bill, you're going to need to reach out to them as nicely as you can. You know, we don't want to lose members, but we can't, it's a detriment to the good dues paying members if we let somebody go on and on and on. And what ends up happening in our club is you get into this argument, well, if you're not going to make them pay dues, I'll just stop paying mine too. You have to be consistent. You have to enforce the rules. You have to enforce your dues. So the biggest thing you can do is make sure you follow up on delinquent people and work with them if you need to. You know, if they're paying $10 a week or a month or, you know, whatever they can, if they can't, you know, have a situation. So you can be nice about it, but just make sure you're communicating that to your board and letting them guide your decisions. Okay. And then on the disbursement side, paying the Optimus International District dues. That is the most important thing in the disbursement side. Again, for honor club status, you have to be current on your dues. So you have to make sure that those are paid every quarter. That information is in Optimus Leaders, and your bills will be there. So it's pretty easy to get there. Another thing is if you have an expense voucher or a check request form, make sure that you have proper procedures for authorization. You don't want people to spend money that wasn't budgeted. So make sure that they say what line it should go to, that you have budgets for that line. If you're doing a particular project, make sure that committee member knows this is how much you have to spend, and they're tracking those and giving that information to you so that you can accurately record it in your system. Okay? And then of course, record the books to the appropriate expense line item. You are going to be responsible, we'll say in a second, for issuing financial statements to your board for presentation each month or as often as you meet. So you need to make sure that you're recording everything accurately. All right, next slide. Okay, about the budget. So the budget should be created at the beginning of each year and approved by your board. Okay, there's one of two ways you can do this. There's a school of thought that says you should approve it in September so that everything's ready for October for you to begin to spend money. In some situations, you may not be able to approve it until October. But you do need to just make sure that you have a budget. That way you have approval for writing those checks. One of the things about doing it up front is it helps the board of directors to approve expenses in advance. By having that budget, they're giving authority to spend that money. And you as the treasurer just want to be doing what the board of directors has already approved. If something big comes along, you need to make sure you bring it to their attention. One thing we do in our club, which I think is really good, is as treasurer, if and when I'm paying dues or I'm paying a check to myself for reimbursement, I always bring those items to the board. I want to show the board, this is my check while I'm paying my dues. Okay, this is the check that I'm paying for myself and the receipts. It's just a sort of a security blanket. That way you're letting other people be accountable for what you're doing. You want to make sure that you're above board and transparent in everything you do. Okay. Also, your club finance chair is responsible for creating the budget. You'll just be assisting in that process as needed. You may not be needed, but as needed, you will assist in that process. And also the board has the ability to review it and revise it as necessary. And I put the note in here again with your budget. Make sure that $100 unrestricted contribution to OI Foundation's in there if you want to be on our club. Okay, next slide. So your monthly reports. Another one of your big jobs is that you prepare a financial summary each month to your board. There's a sample in the documents that was sent out called monthly statement of receipts and disbursements. Typically what you're going to have is you're going to have your budget column, what month it is, what your year-to-date columns are, and any variances between budget and actual. You want to be able to show, this is how much you said we could spend, this is how much we've spent, and are we over and under? Now, typically you don't want to be under, obviously, because you would need to get board approval before you went over. I'm a stickler on that stuff. So just make sure that you're recording things to the correct item and that everything's properly categorized, and report that to your board. Okay, so here we're going to have a poll question. So this is just a survey type thing. Does your club currently accept any online payments of dues? Are you using Venmo, PayPal, Cash App? Is anybody currently doing that? I'm seeing a lot of no's. Raise your hand if you are doing that. One kind of browse through. And I don't see a single hand raised. Wow. Okay, I'm going to tell you the truth here too. We are not doing it yet in the city of Carroll, or not city of Carroll, I keep thinking about my job. We're not doing it yet, the Carrollton Optimist Club. This is something we're looking into next year.
Number two.
An easy way to do this is Cash App or Venmo. All that's required is with your bank account that you get a debit card. Now, this is what I'm going to be proposing to our board this year, is that we get that debit card to get the number off it so we can set up a Cash App or Venmo, and then we cut that card up. I'm not a fan of cards to pay for stuff because you can't have approval. It's spent before it's been approved. So, but we could have that card so that we have something that allows us to access, and then we can set up Cash App and Venmo where people could just go on their phone and send money, either by dues, either for our raffles we have at each meeting. So you can simplify your ways of doing it, and it's cost effective. Cash App is free. There is no fee involved with sending that money from your bank account to their bank account. So just kind of be forward thinking in those kinds of things if you're serving as treasurer, because especially with this pandemic, it's kind of made us think, hey, you may not always be able to get to the post office to send that check, you know, or different things. So just be forward thinking in that kind of stuff. Okay, next slide. Okay, one of your big roles as treasurer is making sure that you have completed all the statutory reporting requirements required by the government. And there's two. Your annual corporate registration is in the state of Georgia. You have your fee that's paid to the Secretary of State annually, and that has to be paid between January 1st and April the 1st. So make sure that you have done your incorporation and paid that. In the state of Tennessee, they require annual reports, and they are due on the first day of the 4th month following the fiscal year. Okay, so that means if you are a Tennessee club, that it would be due by January 1st because we are a September 30th year end. Okay, does that make sense? So it's the 4th month, so October, November, December, January, and it's the first day. So it'll be due January 1st, which actually be January 2nd because of the holiday. Okay, so just keep those things in mind. Also in the earlier meeting, we talked about the Form 990 form. Okay, that form is due by February the 15th. Okay, it's always due the 15th day of the 5th month following the fiscal year. So it is February 15th. Now, if your gross receipts for your club are greater than $50,000, then you're going to have to submit that Form 990. If it's less than $50,000, there is a postcard option that's called Form 990N that may come, that probably likely will go to your last treasurer or whoever is registered as treasurer on your corporation forms. Typically is who that document will go to. You're going to need to make sure you fill that out, checking off that, you know, you didn't have more than $50,000 and those things. That is very, very important. We have a club in our district right now who has been revoked by the IRS because they have not filed their Form 990 in the past 3 years.
Oh, jeez.
Okay? They've been revoked. Now, we're working on trying to get them a letter to submit to the IRS so that they can get that fixed, because it was a new club that was formed. The treasurer did it the first year, but then didn't pass it on to the other people, and they didn't know about it. So accidents happen, and IRS doesn't have anything at stake in that. They're not going to get any money from a nonprofit anyway. So we're going to try our best to write a letter and get them out of that. But it is very, 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 very crucial that you make sure that you do your government reporting requirements. Okay? All right, next question, or next slide. Okay, so again, who can help you? We've provided our names and address and info. Anytime you need anything, shoot me an email, give me a call. I'll be glad to help as well. Reach out to your president. They can get your lieutenant governor. All this information of your officers can be found on the Optimist Leaders website. So when you're on there, you can find any information that you need to be able to contact us. So feel free to contact us at any time. Okay, next slide. We just got a couple minutes. Okay, poll question. When is your club's Form 990 due? Is it January 1st, February 15th?
February 15th.
February 15th.
Right, good job. February the 15th. You need to put February 1st on your calendar, because if you're not getting it and getting ready to go, that is the last possible day. It's like April 15th for your taxes. That's what February 15th is. You want it well before then. So just make sure that you're prepared for that. Okay, next slide. And that is it. So look, and we got on time. It's 3:59. Any questions from anybody? I know I have to go fast. Questions at all? I did that good of a job explaining it. I don't believe it.
You did.
Okay, so here's the deal. The big thing is, remember, we're here for you. We're resources. You're not alone. So if you get stuck, if you have a problem, if you run into a situation where you're having trouble collecting dues from somebody and you just want an extra hand, I don't mind giving them a call. They don't know me. so, just if you need some help or something, we're here as a district to help our clubs. So just let us know how we can help you. And we're here to help in any way we can. All righty?
Okay. All right.
And you guys will get the zip file by Monday of what we went over and at the PowerPoint as well as the club information. And then also we'll be holding those training sessions. So you'll receive emails, and just, even if you have a topic you want to bring forth to the group and everything like that. So we are definitely here electronically for you guys for this year.
Absolutely. Okay, so we want to get back to the main session. So if